This episode, we're going full throttle with 5 muscle cars that were built to make a mark. We salute a true American classic.
I don't think anybody's ever seen a Javelin done to that level before.
Rip up the rules of design.
It's never gonna dent, it's never gonna rust.
This is a custom-made car from A to Z.
And unleash the beasts on the road.
This car will hang you right on the edge, and there's nothing there to pull you back.
It's always extreme.
We're talking new school
You feel like you are flying.
and old school,
Who are you?
but all muscle.
It's a freak.
First reaction to it is what is it?
Too much horsepower and a cool old vintage car.
The Defiant, which is a 1972 Javelin.
The AMC Javelin was a 60s and 70s Trans Am winning pony car. And having seen it in their town for the last 40 years, Mike and Jim Ring thought it was perfect for their latest project.
It's a freak, you know. It's easier to get somebody to build a Mustang, Camaro, or Charger, but to get somebody who want to do a Javelin, and they're like, oh, no way, no way.
Prestone commissioned custom heavyweights, the Ring brothers, to take this project on. They wanted a ride to turn heads and totally smoke the competition. In just 12 months, these brilliant brothers did something daring and different with the Defiant. A ride this rad needed a landmark launch.
It got debuted at SEMA in Las Vegas for the first time, which was a pretty exciting unveil. There was a lot of people, a lot of press about the car. I think the fun part of that car was the fact that I don't think anybody's ever seen a Javelin done to that level before. So for us, it was very exciting, and it was really awesome to do that car.
Once built, this baby was handed over to the client for final testing.
My name is Trevor Tester. I'm otherwise known as BAM.
Tester by name, tester by nature.
It looks like it's running 100 miles an hour when it's sitting still. And it's just, the power of this car is just amazing. The whine of the motor, hearing that supercharger whine, that's what I like the best about this car as far as the noise and everything. It sounds like an old hot rod. This car is just phenomenal when it comes to just getting after it. When you mash this one, you better be pointed straight, right in the right direction, because if you're not, you're gonna go for a wild ride.
It's a light switch. It's either on or off. The car is very drivable unless you decide to put your foot in it, and if you do, you better hold on.
All of the changes that the Ring brothers have made to this car, you don't see it every day.
These guys put this baby together with a perfect blend of handmade detail and modern CAD machinery. Perfect techniques make a perfect ride.
From the windshield forward, it's all hand-built and done in CAD, and then hand-laid in carbon. Grill area bumpers were all machined out of several different pieces of aluminum. There was a lot that was involved with that car.
But these guys decided on a radical change from the original ride.
To us, looked like that front wheel needed to go farther forward.
So yeah, I think that's kind of why that car was considered ugly to a lot of people, but yet the back end, the roof line really was gorgeous, and I just think people couldn't get past the front nose of that car. So I think that was probably the greatest thing we did to change the look of that car.
Once an ugly duckling, this Defiant is now a beautiful beast.
It's not a car that you can just turn loose to anyone, because the car will get away from you very quickly. This car will hang you right on the edge, and there's nothing there to pull you back once it gets out there on the edge. A new car kind of helps the driver to drive it. This being an older car with a lot of power, you actually have to be a driver to actually drive it. It doesn't have traction control. It doesn't have all of the features that the new ones have to where it corrects itself. You have to actually correct the car. It's an experience that like no other. I mean, it's like you're climbing in a race car that you can drive on the streets. Best of both worlds.
From a deadly Defiant to a badass beast. If you're looking to cause a scene in your local neighborhood, boy, have I got a ride for you.
When I drive this car, it feels like I'm and the car, we one integral part. So we both are muscle, and we're ready to tear the roads up. This is our beautiful Equus Bass 770. Timeless, elegant, and classic. The philosophy of the company is to continue the legacy of American muscle car era. Something like a flashback. So you're driving a modern car, but in fact, you're driving history.
Feast your eyes on the best bits of American muscle, all under one hood. The Bass is hand-built, a completely custom ride for every owner. Vintage styling meets modern tech with a perfect blend of carbon fiber and aluminum. This lightweight body allows the Bass to really haul ass, hitting 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, leaving other rides in the dust on the streets of Detroit.
So this is a custom-made car from A to Z. On average, to produce one car, it takes somewhere between 4,500 to 5,000 man-hours.
This ride comes in 6 different setups, but whichever you choose, get ready to break the bank.
The price range for Equus Bass is between $230,000 to $250,000.
You gotta pay big bucks for this supercar.
We pay lots of attention to details when we produce this masterpiece. The inspiration for the design came from the Steve McQueen's movie called Bullet.
This ride combines the looks of some of the greatest cars. The flavor of a Mustang, the front of a Chrysler, and the beams of a Dodge Hellcat.
You feel like you are part of this car, and you actually feel the power, you feel the grip, and most importantly, you like the looks that you're getting when you're driving it.
The Bass is an absolute boss. If you don't see it coming, bet your ass you'll hear it.
The car handles amazing. The car is stiff, but at the same time, it's very comfortable car to drive. But you actually feel the road. You really, really feel the road, and you feel the muscle, you feel the power. My favorite features inside the car, it's the wheel, because when I'm handling the wheel, I feel that I have lots of power.
This baby is like a muscle car's greatest hits in one elegant, powerful package. Man, I can dig that.
One thing I can tell you, you feel like you are flying.
Long live American muscle. From Detroit muscle to a Californian Charger. This next ride is the real bad boy of muscle cars.
When I look at muscle cars, I look at the styling, I look at the power and performance, but most of all, it had an attitude. The Dodge Charger is the car that the bad guy always drives. It's that character that we like.
The Evolution is the most advanced 1970 Dodge Charger this side of heaven. Custom car builders Speed Corps have created a carbon-clad beast This award-winning muscle car was unveiled in 2018, but this ain't no show pony. This is a ride that demands to be driven.
Evolution was our best car that we've built today. You know, muscle car, it's always about being competitive, one-upping the other person all the time. If you have 390 horse, the other guy's got to have 425 horse. Taking it to the next level of design and creativity, it's the little things that make the car. It's all about the details.
Amen to that.
Little things like the directional lights. This was something that Dodge did have in all the 1970 Dodge Chargers, and we wanted to keep the styling, but we wanted to change some of the lines. When someone looks at it, it looks better than it did in 1970. Also things like the hood pins. Dodge Charger ran hood pins as an option, and we wanted to recreate those same hood pins in the same styling that they did. A lot of companies try to eliminate wing windows. I like to actually embrace them. It was just a cool feature. One thing that's amazing about carbon fiber, not only is it strong, but extremely light. So having a Charger hood itself, you would never be able to do this, and your hood hinges would be massive, and the springs that held them up were massive. We've saved about 1,000 pounds off of this car. The other thing about carbon fiber, which is amazing, especially on the fenders, is they don't dent or rust. If you look at a lot of the muscle cars and Survivors over the years too, people lean on them and worked on them with their elbows and did all this. That doesn't do anything to carbon fiber. So it's a timeless piece. It means it's going to last forever.
These guys have really gone the extra mile with this ride. The result? They've future-proofed a classic.
The Chargers of the 70s and late 60s were great for straight lines, but they were terrible for turning. So this car is made to handle. Suspension could be a little more stiff than what you would like, but you need that to have the control, and when you have that power, you want to make sure everything is, you know, sturdy and you don't have to worry about it. The true definition of a muscle car is power under control. Kind of like a savage beast, but it's tame enough in the cage.
But when the beast is unleashed, it'll take your breath away.
I always make this reference. Maybe you were in high school and you had a girlfriend. You didn't want to see that girlfriend 10 years later have green hair and an earring and all this other stuff. You remember the way that she was maybe in high school and how she was your sweetheart. I think the same thing is true to these cars. Yes, it's carbon fiber. Yes, the wheels are more of a modern approach. But at the end of the day, it will always be a 1970 Dodge Charger.
From carbon-clad Chargers to beautiful Bel Air. Muscle cars epitomize Americana. Badass cars driven by badass leading men. Steve McQueen, James Dean, Vin Diesel. And this next ride has the most badass owner of them all. Grace in her 57 Chevy Bel Air.
I am Grace. Behind me is my 1957 Bel Air hardtop. I've owned it since 1957. One owner for 62 years.
The beautiful 57 Chevy Bel Air was once one of the most popular mass-produced muscle cars ever. These days, this rare ride can fetch north of $100,000, a pretty sweet profit for Grace. She paid just $2,000 back in the day. How the hell did it even last this long?
I know how to take care of things, and this car proves it. The book says change the oil every 2,000 miles. I changed it every 1,000 miles. I have it serviced whether it needs it or not. That's how you take care of a car. It's got 122,000 miles now. But those were put on during my active years.
For 62 years of driving, lady, that is low.
What we're driving on used to be 4th Avenue. And Now they call it South Main. I'm the proverbial little old lady. Takes it to church, goes to the grocery store, and goes to the appointments. Here's where I went to school during the war. So naturally, I'm not putting on a lot of miles now. I used to be able to look over the steering wheel. Well, no longer. I look, it's very comfortable to sit back and look under the wheel.
Whatever it takes to get Grace around.
Whoops, I didn't turn there.
The Bel Air has the kind of style that never fades, and the warranties last just as long.
Midas gave their lifetime guarantee for as long as you own the car, and I'm sure they never thought somebody would keep their Midas mufflers for 62 years. But I needed a muffler.
That's what I'm talking about, Grace. Beautiful rides are always going to attract attention.
Nice car!
But not always the right kind.
Someone tried to steal this car. The car was 20 years old then, just the late 70s. It was parked on a side street. I approached the car, and somebody was getting out the other side. I yelled, "Who are you?" And he was gone in the dark. And I drove to church because that's where I was headed. This car is very superior. It's not just any car. I never planned to have this car that long. It just happened. Year after year, they went by, and I was so happy with it, and everybody else is happy with it. Why give it up?
From an original beauty to a modern masterpiece. I got 3 words to describe this next incredible ride. $1 Million Mustang, the ultimate kick-ass street car.
It was really to grab people's attention, make this car 9/10 race car and 1/10 street car.
This is one vicious piece of pure motoring muscle. This road racing ride was put together by Timeless Customs and is now safeguarded by Sean. The build cost an incredible $1 million. It entered the garage as a '65 Ford Mustang Coupe and came out 9 months later as an extreme, track-focused, road-eating machine.
The owner of this car wanted to take a car to SEMA, and he wanted it to be something that everyone would talk about.
Price be damned, this ride was gonna push the limits.
The most expensive element of all of it is all the hand fabrication work that was done to the body. It needed a ton of work, metal work. It needed everything. Honestly, parts just sitting on the floor of your garage, not putting anything together yet, no fabrication whatsoever, just the parts alone for this car, you're already in hundreds of thousands of dollars. You talk about 10,000 hours of work that went into this car to ultimately create what we call Vicious Mustang.
The supercharged spending might give you the ride of your life, but it left no room for creature comforts.
This car has no air conditioning in it, it has no heater in it, it has no stereo in it, it has very little heat treatment or sound deadening. So the sounds you hear are incredible.
Brother, that's my kind of music. You better believe this was a meticulous quest for performance perfection.
This splitter here is all metal. You've got cool intakes here to bring air. The Forge Line wheels fit this car perfectly. Even little details like this, where they went, instead of leaving the brake, they went with Vicious on it. And they matched the paint exact to this, which this color is called Vicious Titanium Silver. They actually gave it its own name.
This rad-looking ride is vicious on the outside and vicious to the core.
The bubble on top of the hood, that's for the supercharger. It's a costly piece of equipment going on under the hood. The interior on this car, again, everything was race themed, but there's still some beauty in here.
That is one hot as hell red interior.
I love the simplicity down here as far as the buttons go. I mean, it's some wonderful leather. Instead of having a traditional gauge cluster, it's a Motec onboard management system. You can program the screen to show you whatever you want if you just wanted to have tack and speed. And that's something you'll see in most race cars.
It may not be built for comfort, but it's definitely built for the count.
This is not a, hey, let's go for a comfortable drive at any time. Even at speed limit, just cruising in this thing, it's always extreme. It's like this epic event every time you take this car out for a drive.
Beautiful, vicious, a 1 in a million muscle car. Man, those customs were right on the money. 5 cars that eat the road for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'll see you next time on Ultimate Rides.